So is St. Louis a good place to push the envelope?
As a space for incubation of arts, sure. You know, you get an opportunity to kind of experiment with different sounds, different designs, different forms, different kinds of writing. The question, though, is there enough people to support you once the experimentation takes off? Once you're able to actually develop something that's worth being seen, will there be enough people out there to become like a patron, like a community of patrons to support you as an artist? That's what I don't know if we actually have.
I messed up your name. Tell me what you're doing and how you see this happening in the work that you're doing.
So with Herb Arts, we're about creating platforms and platforming creatives for youth development as well as betterment of community. So with that said, St. Louis, with St. Louis, there are a ton of venues, but the question is, can someone bring these audiences together with the artists so that the artists can have an opportunity to not only have their work heard and to be affirmed, but also maybe to make some money too at something they really want to do as a profession, you know, at least another revenue stream. So that's what we do. We try to create platforms for artists as best we can, and we follow with and, you know, go with a lot of other arts organizations that create platforms for artists in St. Louis.
Good place to push it?
Yeah, actually, you bring up a really great point, which is that I think we have a lot of time, physical space, you know, the cost of living is low, and that creates a lot of opportunities for art making. But the sort of patrons of the arts, or the whole culture of appreciating and wanting to participate in art is still, I think, in a process of growing in St. Louis. And to relate it back to what I do with Improv Anywhere, a lot of what we're trying to do is to kind of hit people with these creative moments in the everyday. And a larger goal of why do we do that is really to remind people that art is everywhere, and that sometimes, even without sort of choosing to have that experience, you're able to reap sort of the benefit of what it means to have this encounter. And then hopefully that instills the value of those experiences with creative work.
Experiencing art doesn't always come with a ticket stub.
Right. I mean, and that I'm not necessarily promoting, you know, that all art needs to be free or anything, but just like creating that capacity in people to start to crave that a little bit more, to realize that that's sort of a natural human thing to experience something different and creative that challenges you, instead of going throughout your day as through your regular routine and maybe not having those experiences.
Art Bar is different and creative. Tell us what it is.
It's a place where people can come into a normal bar and have a live gallery right across from the bar from them, where they can see a new show every month. So the owners, Tatiana Telnikova and Tom Alaska, I think are kind of ahead of the game on blending these two social meeting places into one. And doing it in Cherokee Street is a great spot to do it. I think it's a nice center for art and development in St. Louis.
Do you see the ability to have a cocktail, maybe crossing some different groups of people who might not otherwise seek out art?
Yeah, we've seen that already over there. There's been people come down who may have not approached Cherokee Street before and have came to shows and had a great time there. I think that they've opened up a great avenue for people, to make it a little more approachable for the common artists to come down and be in a show and hang out with the patrons at the same time, mm-hmm. and for people to actually meet them, and it's a different environment.
Do you appreciate the artist more when you can put a face to them, perhaps, whatever the art form might be?
I believe so. I mean, you get to talk to them, and you get to shake their hand and have a drink and go outside and see the street scene for a minute, and yeah.
I think the accessibility and the humanity is really important, because I think there's definitely like an intimidating element to art, or at least like that some people kind of feel that way. And I think about like Contemporary Art Museum's hosting Open Studios this weekend, which is a really great opportunity to humanize art, and to show that it's real people, your neighbors, like a diverse array of human beings that create artwork, and really all people do. Just some people choose to do it more than others.
So are you branching out? Do you see, are you preaching to the choir when you hold exhibits or put on performances, or are you crossing over into other people?
That's marketing. That's marketing. If artists can also master the art of marketing, then you can create new audiences and grow audiences. And unfortunately, when you look at the long history of art in St. Louis, part of the reason why artists leave St. Louis is because they haven't been able to grow audience. And so, social media provides a whole new avenue for reaching out to new groups of people who may not be interested in what you do or may even know what you do. I know with me in spoken word poetry, we often find new audiences. Some of them like it, some of them don't, but we constantly have a group of people who seem to be interested in what these poets have to say or what some of our artists have to do. So we try to create a space where, much like the art bar, we can bring audience to the artist, and I think that makes a difference. And hopefully, it can become a difference maker for people who are attempting to earn revenue through their craft.
So where do you guys fit in? And artists who might be considered non-traditional, experimental, where does that fit in the broader spectrum of our well-established, well-attended, well-respected institutions of art?
Well, I think with institutions of art, the good news is there's a built-in audience, and those individuals perhaps believe that this institution will put nothing but quality performances on their stages. So there's an opportunity for artists to find a platform with these established institutions. But the question is, how accessible are those institutions to everyday artists? That's the reason why St. Louis Fringe is so important. That's the reason why Herb Arts does what it does, because we need to be able to put artists in front of people, real people. Art is democratic in nature. If the people like it, they'll support it, and the artist can eat from it, or the artist can at least feel affirmed. But unfortunately, that doesn't always shake out the way you'd hope. And that's the reason why, again, if you look at the Black Artists Group and other individuals who've been artists or collectives in St. Louis, part of the reason why they fade to the back at some point is because there's just not enough audience to support that. So hopefully, these kinds of conversations can bring people together so that artists can be affirmed, can be heard, and be supported in their craft.
Im said it's changing a little bit. It's not quite there in terms of the landscape of St. Louis. How do you see it? I think you said you don't want to do this voluntarily for an entire career.
I don't mind. I mean, it's
an artist in general. I mean.
Yeah. Well, I'll do it forever. It doesn't matter. But
that's bad marketing.
Well,
actually work in marketing. But so to that point, and to round out what you were saying, I think we can all create art all day long, but ultimately, like, if we're trying to create art that pushes boundaries and moves culture forward and challenges people, it is so important who sees it. I see a lot of really great work happening in St. Louis, and sometimes just like the same people come through, right? So that's honestly, sometimes that's more, audience can be almost more important than the art itself. And the audience is everything from how are you marketing, what kind of messaging are you putting it out through, what mediums, what platforms, what is the actual content of the work that you're creating, how does it alienate, how does it include, and lastly, I think about this a lot because our work's in public space, like physically, where are you housing this? Because having a show on Cherokee Street is going to be really different from having a show in Baldwin, is going to be really different from having a show on the east side of the river. It's just that, placing it contextually in different physical, geographical parts of St. Louis, because obviously St. Louis has a complex geography. Think about how it's divided socially in that way. That's also a huge component and something that we can really work on moving forward, I think, as artists.
Any advice to our to the arts patrons? You guys are brave artists. Help them be a little braver. Help us be a little braver as patrons.
I think one thing that is real important that I enjoy a lot is seeing people who might not consider themselves artists become artists or try something new. And the Art Bar puts pads of paper and a jar of pencils out on the bar for you to draw. And people might come in there and become inspired and find out that they can actually draw. Or our art night over at Camp Jessup has made a lot of people come in and just want to try something out. And now we've got photographers who didn't even have a camera when they first started. And to me, I may be a little wrong in this, but I've always had a little portion of me that thought that making art should come first if that's what you want to do besides marketing and making money, because that's going to get in the way of the image of whatever you want to see made, whatever pleases you. So part of me wants to just inspire people and have that in their heart and let them grow up on that and see where it goes.
That's beautiful, and I'd certainly second that. What I'd want to say to patrons out there is get in the game. You know, some of the greatest artists had patrons, had a large body of supporters or some sort of money that supported the art. It's only so far an artist can go before they have to go and make some money in more traditional means, such as working a job, or whatever the case may be. So I would love to see more artists get in the game and support community arts as well as people from throughout the region.
Well,